The conference room was freezing. That's the first thing I remember. Not the fear, not the anger, but the artificial, sterile cold of the air conditioning. It felt like a morgue for careers. Vanessa was sitting across from me, looking at her manicured fingernails, acting like she was the victim of the century. She had a tissue in her hand, dabbing at eyes that were completely dry. Next to her sat the HR director, Reynolds, a man I'd known for 5 years, a man I'd had beers with. He wouldn't even meet my eyes. He had a file in front of him, my personnel file, and his hand was resting on a termination letter. "Grant," Reynolds said, his voice tight, lacking its usual warmth. "Given the severity of these allegations regarding sexual harassment and the hostile work environment you've created, legal has advised us to terminate your contract effective immediately. We're skipping the suspension. This is a firing for cause." Vanessa let out a small, shaky breath, a performance worthy of an Academy Award. She looked small, fragile. A terrified prey animal. I didn't flinch. I didn't beg. I didn't scream that it was a lie. That's what guilty men do when they panic. I reached into my suit jacket pocket, slowly so security wouldn't jump, and pulled out a single, silver USB drive. "Before you sign that termination letter, Reynolds," I said, my voice steady as a rock, "and before you ruin this company's reputation by firing your top earner based on a fabrication, you need to hear the recording from last Tuesday. The one where Vanessa told me exactly how much cash it would cost for her to not cry assault." Vanessa's head snapped up. The fragile victim mask slipped for a fraction of a second, revealing the predator underneath. The color drained from her face so fast I thought she might pass out. "Play it," I said, sliding the drive across the mahogany table. And that was the moment the hunter became the hunted. Welcome to Cheating Story Exposed. Real stories, real. Justice, no sugarcoating. You know what? I notice many of you watching haven't hit that subscribe button yet. Here's the thing, we drop stories like this every single day. Stories about people who got played, got smart, and got even. If you want to see how these situations really end, subscribe now and turn on notifications. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. My name is Grant. I'm 42 years old, and I've spent the last 15 years building a reputation in high-stakes logistics management. I move millions of dollars of automotive parts across oceans. My job is to see problems before they happen, hurricanes, strikes, tariff changes, and navigate around them. I don't do drama. I don't do office gossip. I deal in facts, figures, and contingencies. But sometimes the biggest threat to your life isn't a storm in the Atlantic. Sometimes it's the smiling face in the cubicle next to you. This is the story of how a sociopath tried to dismantle my life for a payday, and how I used her own greed to put her in handcuffs. To understand the betrayal, you have to understand the setup. It started about 8 months ago. Our firm, Apex Logistics, was expanding rapidly into the Eastern European market. We were drowning in work. I was pulling 14-hour days, managing accounts that generated $3 million a month. I needed help. I needed a protege. That's when Vanessa walked in. I interviewed her myself. She was 28, polished, sharp as a tack, and hungry. Her resume was impressive, top of her class, 2 years at a rival firm, fluent in German and French. During the interview, she didn't just answer questions, she solved problems. I gave her a hypothetical scenario about a stuck shipment in Hamburg, and she outlined a 3-step solution that was better than what my current junior managers would have come up with. I thought I had found a diamond in the rough. I thought I was hiring a future partner. "You're hired," I told her, shaking her hand. "Welcome to the big leagues." She smiled, a bright, winning smile. "I won't let you down, Grant. I want to learn everything you know." If I had known then what everything meant to her, I would have called security right there. The first 3 months were what I call the honeymoon phase. Vanessa was perfect. She was the first one in the office at 7:00 a.m. and the last one to leave. She organized my chaotic filing system. She charmed the difficult clients. She brought coffee. She anticipated my needs before I even voiced them. I let my guard down. I started mentoring her for real. I showed her the proprietary software tricks. I introduced her to my personal contacts at the shipping yards. I treated her like a younger sister or a valued apprentice, but looking back there were signs, small cracks in the porcelain. There was a night about 4 months in. We were working late, finalizing a bid for a massive manufacturer. It was 9:00 p.m. The office was empty except for the cleaning crew vacuuming down the hall. Vanessa came into my office with 2 takeout containers. She put them on my desk and sat on the corner of it, invading my personal space just a little too much. "You work too hard, Grant," she said, her voice dropping an octave. You need to relax. Maybe I could help you relax. She leaned in. It wasn't subtle. It was an invitation. Now I'm a single guy. I'm not a monk. But I have a golden rule. Don't dip your pen in company ink. It's messy, it's unprofessional, and it's dangerous. I didn't recoil, but I stood up and walked to the whiteboard, putting distance between us. I appreciate the food, Vanessa, I said, keeping my tone strictly professional. But let's keep the focus on the bid. We need to get these numbers right by morning. And please use the chair. She paused. I saw a flicker of annoyance in her eyes, but it vanished instantly, replaced by a sheepish smile. Right, sorry, just tired, she said, sliding into the chair. Back. To business. I thought it was just an awkward moment. A misread signal. I brushed it off. I didn't know that by rejecting her I hadn't just created an awkward moment. I had created an enemy. To a narcissist, rejection isn't just a no. It's an act of war. The shift was subtle at first. Over the next 2 months, the atmosphere in the office changed. It wasn't anything I could put my finger on immediately. Just vibes. I'd walk into the break room and conversation would stop. People would look down at their phones. Female coworkers I'd known for years, women I asked about their kids and husbands, started avoiding eye contact. Then came the mistakes. Vanessa started dropping the ball, small things, forgetting to CC me on an email, misplacing a customs form, entering a wrong date in the calendar. When I corrected her, she would get defensive. Loudly. I'm sorry, Grant, she would say, her voice carrying across the open-plan office. I'm trying my best. You don't have to yell at me. The thing was, I wasn't yelling. I was speaking in a normal, calm volume. But to everyone else listening from their cubicles, hearing only her reaction, it sounded like I was berating her. One afternoon, my work friend Mike pulled me aside in the parking lot. Mike runs the warehouse. He's a straight shooter. Grant, look, it's none of my business, Mike said, looking uncomfortable. But you need to watch your six. What are you talking about? I asked. Vanessa, Mike said. She was in the break room crying today. She told Sarah from accounting that you've been aggressive, that you corner her in your office and scream at her if she doesn't stay late with you. My stomach dropped. That is absolute insanity, Mike. You know me. I know you, Mike nodded. But the new hires don't, and HR listens to rumors eventually. She's painting a picture, man, and you're the villain. I went home that night feeling a cold pit in my stomach. I realized I was in a dangerous position. I was the senior male manager. She was the young female subordinate. The power dynamic automatically made me the suspect in the court of public opinion. I decided to pull back. I stopped meeting with her alone. I started leaving the office door wide open at all times. I routed all her instructions through email so there was a paper trail. I thought I was protecting myself. In reality, I was just forcing her to escalate. The breaking point came with the Mueller account. This was the whale. A German automotive conglomerate looking for a new logistics partner for their entire North American supply chain. The contract was worth $3 million a year in revenue. The commission alone would be nearly $100,000 annually for the managing agent. I had spent 3 years courting them. Golf trips, late-night conference calls, trips to Munich. I had locked it down. The contract was sitting on my desk, waiting for final signatures. Vanessa wanted it. She walked into my office on a Tuesday morning. She closed the door. Leave it open, Vanessa, I said immediately, not looking up from my screen. She ignored me. She locked it. I spun my chair around. Unlock the door or I'm calling security. Relax, Grant, she said. Her voice was different. Gone was the bubbly assistant. Gone was the fragile victim. This was cold steel. We need to talk about the Mueller contract. What about it? I want it, she said. I want to be listed as the primary account manager. I laughed. I couldn't help it. The audacity was staggering. You're a junior associate on probation. You're not qualified to handle a lemonade stand, let alone a multinational logistics chain. No. She didn't blink. She walked over to my desk and leaned down, her face inches from mine. You're going to give it to me, she whispered. Because if you don't, I have a meeting scheduled with Reynolds in HR on Monday. To discuss what? I asked, my heart hammering against my ribs. To discuss your behavior, she smiled. The late nights, the way you touch my shoulder, the way you comment on my clothes, the way you promised me a promotion if I cooperated. None of that happened, I said, my voice shaking with suppressed rage. That is a total fabrication. It's my word against yours, she said simply. And in this climate, who do you think corporate will protect? The middle-aged man or the traumatized young woman? Even if you win, Grant, the investigation will freeze your career. You'll be that guy. You'll never get director. She stood up and smoothed her skirt. You have until Friday to transfer the file. Think about it. She unlocked the door and walked out. As she entered the hallway, her posture slumped, and she wiped a fake tear from her eye for the benefit of the receptionist. I sat there, paralyzed. She had checkmated me. If I gave her the account, she owned me. She would bleed me dry forever. If I refused, she would nuke my career with a false accusation. I went to the bathroom and splashed cold water on my face. I looked at myself in the mirror. I looked tired, old, but as I looked, the fear started to recede, replaced by something colder, something sharper. I'm a logistics manager. My job is to solve impossible problems. She thought she had cornered me, but she had made one critical mistake. She assumed I was playing by the old rules. She didn't know I was ready to burn the whole board down to catch her. I left work early, claiming a migraine. I drove straight to the office of a man named Marcus. Marcus isn't a corporate lawyer. He's a shark. He handles high-stakes employment disputes and defamation cases. He costs $600 an hour, and he's worth every penny. I sat in his leather chair and told him everything. The rejection, the rumors, the demand for the account. Marcus listened, steepled his fingers, and sighed. "You're in a kill zone, Grant," he said bluntly. "If she goes to HR right now, you're done. Even if they don't fire you, the stink of it sticks. You become a liability." "So what do I do? Give her the account?" "Hell no," Marcus said. "You give a blackmailer an inch, they take the ruler. You need to destroy her credibility, completely, irrevocably." "How? Evidence," Marcus said. "She's greedy. She made a demand for the account. That's technically extortion, but it's internal office politics. It's muddy. We need her to cross the line into criminal territory. We need her to demand cash." "She hasn't asked for money," I said. "She will," Marcus grinned. "If she realizes she can't have the account, she'll want a consolation prize. You need to pivot her. Tell her the account is impossible because of corporate red tape. Make yourself look weak. Make yourself look desperate. Ask her if there's another way to solve this." He leaned forward. "And Grant, record everything. We are a one-party consent state. As long as you are part of the conversation, you can record it without her knowing. It is admissible in court." I left Marcus's office with a battle plan. I stopped at an electronics store. I bought 2 high-fidelity voice recorders, small, slim, easily hidden in a pocket. I also bought a button camera, overkill maybe, but I wasn't taking chances. I went home and practiced. I practiced looking scared in the mirror. I practiced the tremble in my voice. I had to be the perfect victim. Wednesday morning, I walked into the office looking like hell. I hadn't shaved. I loosened my tie. I let dark circles stay under my eyes. Vanessa saw me and smirked. She hovered around my desk like a vulture. "Did you make the transfer?" she asked quietly when she walked by to get coffee. "I'm trying," I whispered. "Legal is blocking it. They need justification." "Figure it out," she hissed. At lunch, I initiated the plan. I sent her a message on the internal company chat. "Vanessa, we need to talk. I can't get the Mueller account transferred. My boss is watching it too closely. Please, I can't lose my job over this." She didn't reply on the work chat. Smart. She knew it logged those. 10 minutes later, my personal cell phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Vanessa, meet me at the Starbucks on 4th, 6 p.m. Don't be late, the game was on." I arrived at 5:45 p.m. I chose a table in the corner, away from the noise of the espresso machines, but well lit. I activated the recorder in my jacket pocket. I activated the backup recorder taped to my chest under my shirt. Vanessa walked in at 6:05 p.m. "Power move, make him wait." She sat down, not ordering anything. She looked annoyed. "You're making this difficult, Grant," she said. "I offered you a simple trade, the account for my silence." "I told you," I said, putting a tremor in my voice. "I can't do it. Reynolds reviews all account transfers over $1 million. If I move it to a junior associate, he'll flag it immediately. He'll start asking questions. It will blow up on both of us." She drummed her fingers on the table. She was calculating. She realized her path to the promotion was blocked by bureaucracy. "I don't care about your problems," she said. "I care about what I get out of this." "I don't want you to ruin my life, Vanessa," I pleaded. "I've worked 15 years for this. Please, is there anything else I can handle? Other things that don't require HR approval." I held my breath. This was the pivot. She looked at me, assessing my desperation. She saw a broken man. She saw a wallet. "Fine," she said. "If I can't have the career boost right now, I want compensation for the distress you've caused me. Compensation. $50,000, she said, cool, calm, like she was ordering a latte. 50. I don't have that kind of cash lying around. "You get bonuses," she shrugged. "You drive a nice car, sell it, I don't care. 50,000, cash or crypto. Wire transfer is okay if you label it consulting fee." "And if I pay?" I asked. "What happens?" "Then I forget everything," she said. "I forget the harassment. I forget the hostile environment. I'll even request a transfer to a different team so we don't have to work together. You pay me and I go away." I need assurance, I said. How do I know you won't come back for more? You don't, she smiled cruelly. But you don't have a choice. Have the money by Friday noon, or I walk into Reynolds' office and cry my eyes out. She stood up. Friday, noon, tick-tock, Grant. She walked out. I waited until she was gone. Then I reached into my pocket and stopped the recording. My hands were shaking, but not from fear anymore. From adrenaline. I had her. $50,000. You pay me and I go away. That wasn't office politics. That was felony extortion. Thursday was a blur of paranoia. I had the audio. I had the texts on my phone where she sent the wiring instructions for her bank account. But doubt is a nasty creature. What if HR sided with her anyway? What if they said I entrapped her? What if the recording was garbled? I backed up the files to 3 different clouds. I saved them on 4 USB drives. I sent a copy to Marcus, my lawyer. Marcus called me immediately. You got it, Grant. You actually got it. This is gold. Do not, I repeat, do not pay her a dime and do not tip your hand. What's the play? I asked. Let her pull the trigger, Marcus said. Let her file the report. Let her lie to HR. Once she files a false report, she adds another crime to the list. We want maximum damage. That's risky, I said. If I let her file, it goes on my permanent record. Not when we expunge it with a police report, Marcus assured me. Trust the process. Friday morning arrived. The deadline was noon. I sat at my desk, working on spreadsheets, watching the clock. 10:00 a.m., 11:00 a.m. At 11:30 a.m., Vanessa walked by my desk. She dropped a sticky note on my monitor. I crumpled it and threw it in the trash. I didn't look at her. At 12:05 p.m., she stood up from her desk. She looked at me. I didn't move. I didn't transfer the money. She picked up her notebook, put on her serious face, and marched toward the executive wing. Toward HR. She was actually doing it. She was nuking my life because I wouldn't pay her ransom. 20 minutes later, my phone rang. It was Reynolds. Grant, conference room B now. I grabbed my jacket. I grabbed my prepared file folder. I checked my pocket for the USB drive. Showtime, I whispered to myself. We are back in the room. The cold room. Reynolds looked betraying. Sarah, the company lawyer, looked bored but dangerous. Vanessa looked devastated. We've heard Vanessa's statement, Reynolds said. It's disturbing, Grant. Detailed accounts of unwanted touching, remarks about her body, threats of retaliation. She has a diary, Sarah noted, tapping a leather-bound notebook on the table. Dates, times, quotes, it's very consistent. I looked at the diary, the prop. She must have spent all week writing that fiction. And what is the proposed resolution? I asked calmly. Well, Sarah said, normally we would investigate, but Vanessa has indicated she feels unsafe being in the same building as you. And frankly, the liability here is massive. We are offering you a choice. You can resign, sign a heavy NDA, and we will provide a neutral reference, or we terminate you for cause and you leave with nothing. So I'm guilty until proven innocent? I asked. This isn't a court of law, Grant, Reynolds snapped. This is a business, and you become a risk. Vanessa sniffled. I just want to feel safe, she whispered. I stood up. Sit down, Grant, Reynolds ordered. No, I said. You've had your say. You've threatened my livelihood based on the word of a woman who has been here less than a year. Now you are going to listen. I took out my phone. First, I said, let's talk about the hostile environment. Vanessa claims I threatened her. Is a text timestamped Wednesday. I read it aloud. Vanessa, $50,000, cash or wire. You pay me that and I'll forget about how uncomfortable you make me feel. Sarah sat up straighter. Let me see that. I slid the phone over. Note the number. That matches her employee profile. Vanessa's eyes went wide. He spoofed it. He took my phone when I was in the bathroom and sent it to himself. A creative theory, I said. Hard to explain away the bank details she sent 10 minutes later. But that's just texts, Vanessa stammered, her voice rising in pitch. Context, we were joking. It was a bet. A bet. I raised an eyebrow. Okay, let's try audio. I plugged the USB drive into the room's projection system. The screen flickered to life, showing the file name, Evidence Final WAV. This was recorded Tuesday evening, at Starbucks. A public place with cameras, by the way, so we can verify the meeting happened. I pressed play. The speakers filled the room with the ambient noise of the coffee shop, and then crystal clear, Vanessa's voice. I don't care about your problems. I care about what I get out of this. My voice, I don't want you to ruin my life, Vanessa. Vanessa's voice, $50,000. You pay me that, and I'll forget about how uncomfortable you make me feel. You have until Friday at noon, or I walk into Reynolds' office and cry my eyes out. The silence that followed was absolute. It was heavy, suffocating silence. I looked at Reynolds. His jaw was literally hanging open. He looked from the screen to Vanessa, horrified. He realized he had almost executed his best manager based on the lies of a criminal. Sarah, the lawyer, was already typing furiously on her laptop. "Vanessa," Sarah said, her voice like ice. "Is that your voice?" I was testing him," Vanessa shrieked, standing up. The tears were gone. The panic was setting in. It was a loyalty test. To see if he would bribe a subordinate. I was doing this for the company. "Sit down," Reynolds roared. I had never heard him yell before. "Don't you dare move." Extortion, I listed, ticking off fingers. Fraud, filing a false report with HR, and defamation. I looked at Sarah. "I assume the company doesn't want to be listed as an accessory to extortion by firing the victim." "No," Sarah said quickly. "Absolutely not, Grant. This changes everything." "It does," I said. "Now excuse me while I call the police." "Because a felony has been committed on company property." "No police?" Vanessa yelled. She grabbed her bag and bolted for the door, but I had anticipated this. I had texted security the moment I walked into the room. The door opened before she reached it. 2 large security officers stood there. "Please return to your seat, ma'am," the lead officer said. The next hour was a slow-motion car crash for Vanessa. The police arrived. They listened to the audio. They looked at the texts. They didn't need much more. They cuffed her right there in the conference room. "Vanessa Miller, you are under arrest for extortion and attempted grand larceny," the officer said. As they walked her out, she passed me. She didn't scream. She didn't curse. She just looked at me with pure, unadulterated hatred. She looked like a demon whose mask had finally been ripped off. "You ruined my life," she hissed. "No, Vanessa," I said, loud enough for Reynolds to hear. "You bet your life on a bluff, and you lost." The walk of shame was legendary. The entire floor had stopped working. Rumors fly fast. Everyone knew something was happening. They watched as the star new hire was marched out in handcuffs, flanked by police. I stood in the doorway of the conference room, adjusting my cufflinks. I took a deep breath. The air didn't feel cold anymore. It felt clean. The fallout was extensive. Vanessa was charged. My lawyer, Marcus, made sure the DA didn't go easy. Because of the dollar amount, $50,000, it was a felony. She eventually took a plea deal to avoid prison time, but she got 3 years of probation and a permanent criminal record. In the corporate world, that's a death sentence. She's currently working retail in another state. As for me, Apex Logistics went into damage control mode. They were terrified I would sue them for the hostile work environment she created. Reynolds called me into his office the next Monday. "Grant," he said, looking tired, "I owe you an apology, a big one. I should have backed you." "You were following protocol," I said generously. "But the protocol is broken if it assumes guilt without evidence." "We're changing the policy," he nodded. "And we're approving the transfer of the Mueller account to you permanently, along with a promotion to Director of Regional Operations. We need someone who can see threats coming. Apparently, you're the best we have at that." I took the promotion. I took the raise, but I also learned a lesson that no paycheck can buy. Men, listen to me. We live in a world where your reputation can be destroyed in a heartbeat by a lie. If you are in a situation like this, do not let your ego get in the way. Do not try to talk it out. Do not think that being a good guy is a shield. 1. Document everything. Dates, times, witnesses. 2. Get legal counsel immediately. Don't fight alone. 3. Use technology. If you are in a one-party consent state, record every interaction. 4. Control your emotions. They want you to get angry. They want you to yell. Don't give them the satisfaction. Be cold. Be strategic. And when you strike, make sure you don't miss. I'm Grant. I survived the trap, and I'm stronger for it. Thanks for watching. If this story got your blood boiling, hit the like button and share it with a friend who needs to hear this. And seriously, subscribe. We're building a community of men who refuse to be victims. See you in the next video. Stay sharp.